What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Nick Underhill at Nick_Underhill on Twitter. The man behind neworleans.football, where they do an incredible job of covering your New Orleans Saints. Nicky, what's up, brother? How we feeling today?
Hey, doing great. How you guys doing?
We're doing well, man. Well, that's kind of a lie. I'm not feeling great today, but you know what we're doing? We're trying to fake it till we make it. We are pushing through. I have a few different topics I want to ask you about here, but let's start with the signing of Dylan Radunes. No, I'm just kidding. Brandon Cooks. Ugo Amadi. No. Let's start with Brandon Cooks. Do you find, and this is something we talked about yesterday, what does the Brandon Cooks signing signal for what the Saints plan to do in the draft, if it signals anything at all?
I don't know. To me, like, it kind of felt like they needed to get a third guy at that position, and he just ended up being the best value for that spot. And you start looking at it, and I don't know, $13 million sounds like a lot over 2 years, but with the way the league's going, it's really just kind of what guys get paid at the league minimum. Like, you're paying $6 million for 400 receiving yards now. That's just what it costs to get it.
That's crazy. So that's kind of the going rate, $6 million per 400 yards?
Yeah, I mean, that's just where the league's kind of at right now.
There you go.
I would like this signing if they didn't have two other 6 foot tall guys that were 180 pounds. Like, I don't know why you need to have 3 of those.
Well, because they get hurt. So they get hurt. So now you'll always have maybe 1 or 2 of the 3 available.
Yeah, and I mean, look, that's probably the part of the reasoning behind it. I think best case scenario, if you had to ballpark it, you know, if we were like, hey, how many games are you going to get combined out of Shaheed and Olave next year? I think you probably set the over under at like 24-25. Like, those guys miss time. Like, that's just kind of what it is. But I would have liked the signing a whole lot more if he was 6'3". You know, it just would feel different. It feels like that's what they're missing. But on its own, you know, I don't mind the addition. I just don't like that they still feel like they don't have an answer for this thing that's been lacking since Mike Thomas rolled his ankle against Tampa Bay, however many years ago it was. And it just feels like it's still a little bit unaddressed. So I think wide receiver is still an open position in the draft. I don't think this satiates it at all in any way where you're like, this is good, this is done. I think he's just he's the third guy right now, and hopefully by the time the season starts, he's the fourth.
That's what we were talking about with making this move, because if you were going to sign a receiver kind of in the same thought process, like MVS is 6'4", 206, and he got, 1 year, $4 million, I think, from Seattle. And so that was a surprising thing to me, is just because you had somebody in the building that actually played pretty well for you that was different than those other 2 receivers that we're talking about.
Yeah, I would have felt differently about him than I do Cooks, and I think Cooks is probably a better player. It's just the fit is just so, I don't know, it's so weird to me. Like, who's going over the middle and making a play? Like, you don't have anybody that can traditionally, you know, be in that mold. You don't have anybody that's making, you know, a tight catch in the red zone. You don't really have anyone you can throw open. I just don't like where they're at right now. And it was just such an obvious need last year, and it still feels like such an obvious need now. And if this was just Keenan Allen, I would feel different. Like, it just, I don't know. It just feels like something's super lacking, but there are going to be good receivers at 9. There's going to be good receivers at 40. I think they'll probably still try to address it in the draft, but it still feels like a huge, massive need to me. And paying Juwan Johnson $10 million doesn't make him a $10 million player. Like, you still need somebody that can do that in the red zone. And I don't think they have that player that you can consistently count on 3rd and 3. Like, you just got to go find them somewhere.
So then let's get to the draft, because I have a couple questions there that I want to ask you about. Are you starting to lean Tetaroa at 9 now?
I'm not. I mean, I'm probably going to go Genty and Warren all the way through the process.
Okay.
I think those are just the 2 guys that early on I heard they liked the most, and I hope at the end you still like the same players the most, because I don't feel like this is a team that should be placing current need over future prospects at all. Like, I think you should be looking more long term. You know, I think there's years where you do have to prioritize that. 18 is a good example. You made a huge mistake trading up for Davenport, but that was a massive need, and that team was on the cusp of trying to win a Super Bowl. Like, I don't feel like you're in a place right now where it's like, well, we better draft someone we like a little bit less because we never addressed this need in free agency. I hope they just stay true to their board every single pick throughout this. I don't think they're at a place where they should be chasing anything. And even if Ty Warren isn't the guy you need the most today, if he's the best player, you're going to be in the best position 2 years from now. And I think that should just be kind of the view on the draft. But I like T-Mac. If they took him, I wouldn't be against it at all. I like him, and Will Johnson's another guy I kind of like at that spot too. But every now and then you see him in a mock around that range. He's usually a little bit lower, but I like him. I like him a little bit more than the guy from Texas. It's just kind of the health thing a little bit last year, but any of those guys, I feel like it's going to be really hard to make a bad pick at 9, as long as you draft it and make sure you're board.
Don't tip Mickey with a good time there,
Do
Nick.
not tempt him with a good time.
You do have knowledge, though, of the Saints' thought processes on these situations. We were playing with a hypothetical earlier. Taylor was kind of laying out, look, if Shedeur slips past the Giants, like, there's potentially a world where he goes, like, maybe all the way down to the teens or something like that. Do the Saints have any latent Shedeur Sanders desires a la Pat Mahomes all those years ago?
I would be really, really surprised. If they have Pat Mahomes desires, it would be for the guy that threw yesterday.
Okay, yeah. I mean, everybody's obsessed with Cam Ward now. It does feel, Nick, like he's become not just the clear number one pick because of who's available, but it seems like now people are starting to accept that Cam Ward is deserving of kind of being a number one pick in any year.
I mean, I think his talent's kind of crazy. I mean, he can do everything. I think it's just that consistency element. And if you were to bring him into your building, I really think it just comes down to whether or not you really truly have the belief that you can develop him or not. And I think a player like him, like, situation is going to be so important, and just getting the right coaching is going to be so important just to kind of harvest everything he can do. But I mean, I don't know. Like, to me, he looks like he has great feet, great arm, great release. You watch him; he can go through his reads. He likes to throw the ball over the middle. A lot of young quarterbacks are tentative about that stuff. I like him. If I really believed in my staff, I would be having conversations about what it would take, or if it's possible, at least, just so you know. I think he's that good, but if you end up in the wrong spot, I think that's the case for any of these quarterbacks. So, and you kind of see it. Sam Darnold's a great example. You end up in the wrong spot, and your talent doesn't show. You end up in the right spot, and your talent can show. So I think it's so much about that, and I think with him, it's really going to be that. I don't think he's can't miss or a Joe Burrow level prospect by any means, but I mean, he's somebody that I think if you need a quarterback and you want a quarterback, I think there's some special stuff there. I think he's got a couple special traits, and if you're going to invest in someone high, you want to have at least one thing to hang your hat on. I think he has a couple, and I like him a lot, and I mean, I thought he looked good. I thought he looked really good yesterday. I mean, it is a pro day, and looking bad is the thing that's alarming. But
that fadeaway throw, though, Nick. I mean, boy, that thing was sexy as hell,
man. Yeah.
Nick, you mentioned Tyler Warren there quickly when talking about maybe potential places the Saints could go at 9. Let's say you make that move, and he's a hell of a football player, by the way. We saw how versatile he could be for Penn State. But now that you do have Juwan Johnson, $10 million a year, the way Foster Moreau finished the year, obviously very strong note there. So you would have those two players already in that position room. Where do you think the Saints would utilize him? Like, where would he kind of live within the offense?
I think so. One of the things they really want to do is they want to be a high tempo team, and a team that can do a lot of no huddle stuff and kind of get in and out of a lot of different looks. And to me, a guy like Warren looks like someone that can just be an absolute weapon in those types of packages. And he feels like someone that you could just put on the field and line up a million different places. And we saw it at Penn State. He can play in line. He can flex. You can split him out. He ran the ball out of the backfield. I think you could. Theoretically, you could have a 3-snap sequence where he's carrying the ball, he's blocking, and then he's split out, and you just kind of have a mismatch, just a million different ways. And there was a oh man, I'm so reluctant to say his name, but Aaron Hernandez, he was used kind of that way in New England. That second year, and it was just such a nightmare for other teams. And he could be a convincing tailback, and that was kind of the whole piece of it. And there was just absolutely no way to match up with him. Like if you're too small, they're going to kill you with that. If you're, man, the words. But like there's just a lot of ways they could beat you with this guy. And I think yeah, I know, man. I think there's just a lot of different ways you could use Ty Warren, and he could be a problem for your offense in that capacity. And that's such a backbone of what they want to do. And they have a really interesting looking package for these tempo and hurry up situations. They have a one-word offense. They have a two-word offense.
Yeah.
It can dictate. One word, you're kind of set, always going to one side. You can call it with two words where it's, one plays the concept, the other word is the side of the field you're running it to. They like to, ramp up to hyper speed. They like to kind of slow it down a little bit, but still not huddle. There's just a lot of stuff that they do to kind of mess with you with tempo. And I think the more versatile players you have, the more you can do within that. And, I think he could be a really, really interesting fit for specifically this offense because of the way they want to utilize their offense.
Oh, you get me a little hyped up for Todd Warren, dude. Hey, don't forget, he did play center as well, right?
That's right.
Didn't he against USC? Didn't he have a touchdown catch on a play in which he lined up at center?
Yep.
So he truly can do it all. Nick, I want to ask you about the most recently released article on neworleans.football today, and it is titled by Mike Triplett, Seeking a Cure. How new sports performance director Ted Rath plans to tackle these Saints injury issues. This is always something that's very hard to parse. How much of injuries is bad luck? How much could be prevented? I've seen this game with the Pelicans for years now. I remember being very excited, I think, when they got like Aaron Nelson from the Phoenix Suns. And if you look at the starting lineup that the Pelicans put out last night, which is all-time good, right up there with some of the Alexia Jinsa, Dante Cunningham lineups of yore. It didn't do anything, basically, right? So what is like, and what you know about Ted Rath, do you think he can help, have an impact?
Here's why I think it could actually help, because we saw last year when they just changed some of the stuff they were doing in practice, the positive impact they had in it.
Yeah, it's
so
true.
I think some of that stuff was a little bit self-inflicted and just kind of with the preparation and maybe not taking care of all the details the way you needed to. And I think just based on that, which is a better plan, I think you can prevent some of this stuff. And I also think last year was just unprecedented bad luck. Because you go back 2 years ago, and their injuries were league average, and then last year it was just out of this world bad. But I think it was due to some of those details going away. Maybe people, I think that's just part of your culture. Like things start to erode a little bit, and maybe people stop paying attention to the details the way they should. And I think that was kind of part of that. But Rath has been really good everywhere, and I don't know. I think he'll probably be better than what they had here. At one point, he was voted twice. The whatever category it is, the strength and conditioning coach of the year, whatever that award is called. He was given that twice. So I think the theory of it makes a lot of sense. But I also understand if somebody feels snake bitten and they need to kind of see it before they believe in better progress there. But I kind of believe, I want to believe he's been around the right people. He's been around the right programs. Every program he's been around has been successful. There's a history of him turning things around and things getting a little bit better. Last year in Philly, you got let go in June, and I think there was a little bit of a dip. So I think part of it, too, is just kind of circumstantial, and you can't avoid everything. But I think anybody will be better than what they had last year. I mean, just the circumstance and the luck, and you do earn a lot of those.
Yep.
And I think they earned it just in general by kind of the culture just going to crap, and I think that was part of it.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.